Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jacque and this is Jacque is Making, a place where I talk all about the knit garments, accessories, and sometimes sewing projects that I have going on. And today I have for you a normal podcast episode where I will be walking you through 4 of my latest finished objects. I also have 3 WIPs currently on the needles. I have 1 new yarn acquisition to showcase for you all. And so it's going to be a really full episode. It's been a little bit since I've filmed, so that's why I have the 4 finished objects. It's kind of fun. I have 1 finished garment that you may have guessed if you saw some of the beautiful finished object photos that I posted on my Instagram. I also have a finished accessory for myself and then 2 finished little gift knits for some family. I am 33 years old and I live in the state of Wisconsin where it is very cold right now. I woke up this morning and it was -6 degrees and the weather app said it feels like -19. So I'm gonna be very brave when I say I'm venturing out today to go knit with my friends. I've been avoiding going outside all weekend, which always makes for a really fun making weekend. So I've gotten a lot of knitting done, some quilting done, but I just feel like making is a part of who I am. So on this channel, I love to share with you all the things that I get up to and that I make. Before we jump into today's video, I did want to thank the sponsor, Bob and Brad. And I've worked with Bob and Brad a few times now. They have gifted me their hand massager and also their back massager, which I can now tell you in full confidence have been in major rotation in my house, especially that hand massager helps so much when I've been knitting all day. I love to use it in my bed before I go to sleep. But today I'm talking with you all about the neck and shoulder heating pad. And this is something that's kind of special. It is a weighted heating pad. So it has these beads in it that kind of weigh it down. It also has these snaps. You can really easily wear it across your shoulders and snap it on so that it just sits really nice. I find myself sitting on the couch. I've honestly had this plugged in next to my couch. Majority of the time I have taken it over to my desk and worn it while I've been working a few sessions as well. But it's so easy to wear because you can snap it on. Then it has 6 different heat settings. So honestly, when it's been so cold, I've quite a few times been bumping it up to the highest heat setting. And then it also has some time settings. So you can put it on a timer for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, or 90 minutes, which is great because say you want to take a nap or that sort of thing and you fall asleep with it on. It's just really nice to have that peace of mind with it having that auto shut off. I will say there's been a few times I've had it all the way up to 90. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, why am I cold? It's because it turned off. And so I'll quick bump it right back up. It's that comfortable to wear that I've been wearing it for long periods of time as well. So like I mentioned, its main functionality is wearing it around kind of that shoulder neck area. But also since it's so easy to kind of spread open, I find that it is also very nice laid across my abdomen. So I've also worked with it like that. And then the other day too, I was really cold. My feet were really cold too, and so I just took it and wrapped it around my feet. But I've really been loving this product, and so I'm excited to share it all with you today. I will leave this linked in the description box below. I have been so impressed with the build quality and everything with Bob and Brad, so I feel super lucky to share them all with you all. Thank you again to Bob and Brad for sponsoring today's video. Okay. Which should we get in first for our finished objects? I feel like we should probably talk about the star of the show, my cranberry sweater. So I'm gonna put this on a hanger here so you can see it a little bit easier. And I'll be inserting as well those beautiful finished object photos that I took of it. This is the Cognac Cardigan by Atelier Castin. And I knit this out of holding 1 strand of a fingering weight. This was hand-dyed superwash yarn. And then I held it double with another hand-dyed, and it was kind of this Surrey sort of blend. It was called Cloud. I'll have all details up on the screen and both really marled together to create this gorgeous cranberry color. I will say one color was a little bit more of like that true garnet, and then the other one was called Old Barn, so it was a little bit more of like a red, like a milky red, I will say. And so they marled together really, really beautifully. And then to finish it off, I added on these really beautiful buttons. I actually purchased on Etsy. This is from a UK brand called Pigeon Wishes. And I absolutely love this colorway I picked out. I feel like it just matches so perfectly, maybe too perfect in the fact that sometimes when I'm looking at this, I'm like, wait, do the buttons look clear? Because I feel like they blend in so well that you almost don't see them. So that is just a note for you all, and a note for my future self as well, of like, hey, maybe get something more contrasting next time, especially if I'm gonna spend the money on a more special button. It's something that I want to notice and really like appreciate, and I do feel like sometimes on this it just blends in too well, so you just end up not seeing it. Now, the reason why I purchased this pattern to make is because I had originally gotten yarn and thinking like I was gonna make a California sweater or a lento. Sometimes when I go to yarn events and I really want to buy some hand-dyed yarn, I've talked in the past, it's fun to purchase for those patterns because for those, I only need 2 skeins of a fingering weight hand-dyed yarn, and I only need 2 skeins of like a fluff yarn. Because it has a larger gauge, I am able to knit with less yarn and still make a garment. So it makes it so I'm spending less money, but I'm still getting to use hand-dyed and that sort of thing. And so I've made both of those sweaters before, and that was kind of the plan. And then when I was coming up on this fall and deciding to cast this on, I was like, I haven't made a ton of cardigans, and so this would be a really fun addition to my wardrobe and pose as like a new challenge as well. And I do think it was that indeed. It's something very unique to my wardrobe, and it also was a challenge. Those other 2 sweaters that I mentioned, those I feel like are very quick knits. They're very good stash buster knits. They make beautiful sweaters, but it's kind of more effortless and easy to create. This cardigan definitely it takes more time and thought. It has a continuous set in sleeve, it has a double knit button band, and then it has a ribbed neckline, and then with just that double knit button band and sewing on the buttons, you're just signing up for more time dedicated to this sweater. So while it seems like maybe it would be faster with that gauge, it's slower with this sort of garment versus a California sweater or a lento. So keep that in mind if that's what you select. The things that I absolutely love about this sweater are that it's more of a fitted garment. So a lot of the garments that I make today are very much so like kind of oversized look and feel. A lot that I'm making right now have like 10 inches of positive ease. That's kind of the style, and it lends itself to some more wiggle room, like some more margin of error, right? So I feel like I just, I'm still gauge swatching. I'm still worrying about gauge because I love that 10 inches of oversized like look, but it definitely is less daunting than something like this where it's a true fitted sweater. So there was a little bit more of a challenge, but also a lot of excitement when it came to this. And then this, I feel like also it really looks dressy. If you are looking for something to wear to work, wear to an event, wear as maybe like a guest at a wedding or that sort of thing, I think this is a really fun garment for that. It looks very dressy to me. And because of that, I think if you were to pair it with a dress, I would maybe just do it a little bit more cropped so it'll hit more at your natural waist instead of like where your waist is with a pair of pants. But for me, I think that is the only hang up right now when it comes to styling this in my current wardrobe. So the way that I have it in the pictures and the way that I wore it over Thanksgiving was just over like a plain white t-shirt, and that was very cute. It still looked dressy, but that plain white t-shirt will kind of bring it down a little bit in terms of dressiness. So it felt more, yeah, kind of more like everyday sort of wear. But I think that what would lend itself really, really nice with this would be if I were to purchase like some more dressy camisole. So I used to have some, I don't think I do anymore in my wardrobe, but maybe like a lace camisole. I was even thinking like a really dark brown, like an espresso brown, like lace camisole, or even just a plain, but in a dressier fabric, I think would look really special underneath this. So that's something I would like to try next. Let's see here. I think that's it as far as everything I'd like to discuss with this. I may have mentioned to you before, this was my first time knitting a double knit button band. It was a little bit harder than I expected. YouTube, of course, helped me along the way, and I'm very pleased with the way that it turned out. Yeah, I think that's everything with this pattern. This is something that I absolutely would consider making again. I would have to like be ready to take on another cardigan, but maybe I'm trying to think different instances that I could see myself making this. Again, if I see another like way of purchasing hand-dyed yarn and using it in this instance, for me that's the most fun, that I get to use it in this manner. But I think it's just very versatile with that gauge, with the amount of yarn you're using. It feels dressy with the fluff. I think it's just a really nicely written pattern, and yeah, I can say I would recommend it to you all. All right, next I have something fun. I'll just put this on for you. If you caught my abandoned WIPS video, you may recall me talking about this, and that's because this was like, it's been on the needles for quite a while. I had cast it on last year. It was a time in TikTok when everybody was using this laying cloud yarn. And it's honestly, it's still a trend. I'm still seeing it everywhere. It's such a cool color changing striped yarn. It's one of those blown yarns. So it has like that nylon sort of tube, and then it's filled with superwash merino wool. And it's blown into it, and so it's called a blown yarn. It's very fluffy, very, very soft. You can see, like, especially after it's blocked, you can definitely see why it's called a cloud yarn. And so I was seeing this yarn everywhere, and I was like, you know what, I kind of want to use it. I didn't really want to make a sweater out of it, and I also kept seeing the Berlin scarf, and I noticed that was in a bulky weight yarn as well, and so I decided to combine the two of them together and create this. However, I did cast it on, I think either cast it on towards the end of winter, or the whip just kind of lingered toward the end of winter. And so by the time that I was maybe 3/4 of the way finished with the scarf, it was just like not really worth my effort any longer, because I wasn't going to be able to wear it for the rest of the season. And so I put it in hibernation. It was just kind of hanging out. And when I did that abandoned WIPS video, I took it out and I was like, you know what? I should really put focus on this winter season, because it really is nice. It's something that I think I would totally wear a lot this winter, and I'm so happy that I did. It was very quick for me to finish. This, if you're unfamiliar, this Berlin scarf is knit in the round on a bigger needle size. So I used a US 10 or 6mm needle. And it's pretty wide, so it's knit in the round, but it's quite a few stitches here. I think a couple of modifications, if I were to knit this again, I may even just like take out 10 stitches, because it's so cozy and nice that it's so wide, but I don't think it needs to be as wide. I think you could knit it a lot faster if you took out some of the stitches, even maybe if you just did 5 to 10. It doesn't need to be quite as wide, although it is so scrumptious and nice with it being the full amount. And so yeah, I barely had any left to complete and finish the rest of that. And then really the part that I was dreading is completing out these fringes. So these fringes, I thought when purchasing the pattern, maybe it was going to be like an I-cord situation. It's not. It's double knit, and it's a little bit difficult because I think there's like about 12 of them. And you start out with a certain number of stitches and you get down to a small amount of stitches. And so if you can imagine, I went down 1 needle size to a US 9 needle on the fringes. And if you can imagine having a small amount of stitches and then you're constantly flipping it back and forth, and so that big cord is like flipping back and forth. Honestly, if you have DPNs, definitely just do it on like 2 DPNs. That would have been the most comfortable. Since I had it on that long cord, it was so annoying to flip back and forth. And yeah, you kind of have to do them a little bit longer than you expect to do them. It's just kind of an annoying finishing aspect to this, but I do think it really aids in the look, and they look beautiful. Another note with this yarn is I am noticing it's already pilling quite a bit. This is such a soft yarn, and honestly this is the first blown yarn that I've ever used, so I'm not sure that I can compare it to the way that other blown yarns behave and how they wear. We'll have to report back after like I shave this a few times and kind of see how it goes. I will say I have a friend, Kylie, and she's knit this exact same pattern, same yarn, different colorway, but what she did was she ended up taking like a mohair brush, like similar to that, like just a comb and combing out the fibers, and so it all fluffed up. And hers looks so cool. And so I'm thinking if this continues to pill a lot, that would be a really, really nice solution, because it would just make it look like kind of that's the intention. It's all fluffed up, and I wouldn't have to worry then about shaving it all the time. But all in all, this garment, like I have had this hanging up in my mudroom ever since I finished and blocked it. It's been something I grab every single time I go out the door. I feel like goes with every single one of my winter coats because of these beautiful changing colors. And so yeah, I recommend it for that instance, because I see myself just getting tons and tons of wear out of this. And it's almost like with all these colors, it's almost like it's more of a neutral, or that it's just, by that I mean it's easy to pair with a lot of outfits with all of these colors. Yeah, it feels like just a very fun addition to all of my outfits. And this colorway in particular, I believe this is the colorway 1. It's very, it just feels very olive to me, kind of retro. Has so many different colors when you look at it up close, but from far away, I feel like the strongest look is kind of an olive look. And I really just love this with my green eyes, and think it's so, so nice. So yeah, really love the colors in this. I'm impressed by how much it softened in block, and it grows in block as well. But yeah, no other changes to the pattern. I'm very pleased with this. I could see myself making another Berlin scarf in the future. I think if I did, what I would do is like I said, I would take out maybe 5 to 10 stitches to just make it a tiny bit faster, doesn't need quite as many, quite as wide. And then I would also maybe go down 1 or 2 needle sizes just to make it more comfortable for myself. Knitting on a US 10 needle size is just not super comfortable for my hands. It's not exciting to pick up. And so even just taking it down to a US 8, I think would make me so much more likely to knit another one of these in the future. Obviously, the texture would change. It wouldn't be as like light and airy. But I'm just thinking for myself, that's something that I would enjoy more. So If you do that, you probably will need more yarn, that sort of thing. So just keep that in mind. And then lastly, I would maybe try to alter the fringes on the bottom to include being able to use an I-cord maker. So maybe someday in the future, I'll try to hack this pattern and make it like my dream scarf pattern, because I think like how much I enjoy wearing it and how fun it is for me to just like have a hand knit item in the winter. I could see myself wanting to like have this as a gift item to give to others, especially like I mentioned, I live in Wisconsin. It's cold. You need these sort of winter accessories on the daily, and something like a scarf is so much easier to add in for me instead of a hat. I've been doing a lot of gift knit hats, but like when you're a girl, you might mess up your hair, if you're going to work or something. But I feel like a scarf, or even I've been seeing so many people making hoods. So like a scarf or a hood, like hood scarf. I could see so many more people in my life grabbing out the door and wearing more so on the daily versus a hat, which gets worn more intermittently. So that is their Berlin scarf. And now next I have for you 2 finished little baby gift knits. Actually, one is a baby size and one is like a little youth size. So I have a niece and nephew that I wanted to make hand knit hats for this winter, and so I ended up using the Oslo hat pattern, and I just altered it just a tiny bit in that I just did the one fold up and I sewed it down and didn't do an extra fold. And the reason being is, first, for the baby hat, I just pictured this being put on a baby and the baby like constantly, when they like pull their hands up and they're grabbing at everything, I just imagined them like pulling it down and that being a train wreck. So I was like, I feel like this is going to be the go-to move. And then I ended up liking the way it looked so much that I ended up doing the same for my little nephew as well. Also because like as a boy, it's just one less thing to worry about, is like getting that flap right, So, and I liked the way that it looked. So that's the way that I ended up knitting both of these. And what I used for them is the Malabrigo Rios yarn. And I remember I used to crochet with this yarn in the past. Malabrigo Rios is a very popular yarn for so many different reasons. I think one that I really loved is it just feels so good to knit with. It's so soft. It's a 100% merino superwash wool in a worsted weight, and it is just so enjoyable to knit with. Man, is it nice. And when I was feeling it in the store, I was like, I think if I was a kid and I had a hat made out of this, it would be so nice, because just like the texture of it, I could imagine it feeling really, really good amongst their foreheads, not bothering them at all, but still being in these really, really fun hand-dyed colorways. So this one is in the colorway English Rose, and this is the baby one. And then this one is the little toddler boy one, the little youth here. And this is in the colorway Chameleon. And he told me his favorite color was rainbow. And so when I was looking in there, I was looking for something that like he wouldn't really get sick of, but would still be like a fun explosion of colors. And to me, this looks so much like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It looks like a galaxy. It looks like just so fun. And so I'm really excited to gift this to him as well. And so for both of these, I just used one skein of yarn. I still have a bit left for both. I think I have enough for both that maybe like if I did hats for anyone else in my family, because like I said, that Rios feels so good and I really love it knit in this Oslo pattern. So I might keep them and do like a stripe sort of thing just to continue using up the rest of that yarn. But definitely after making both of those, I would love to make myself a hat in Rios. It's soft, it's nice. I can't really report back on how it's gonna wear. I do imagine that it'll pill a little bit, but what's really nice about this Oslo hat with this yarn is it's knit on a US, I think 2.5, a 3mm needle. So it's a nice tighter gauge for that yarn, and it seems like it's gonna be nice and warm with being a little bit tighter, and will maybe help a little bit with the pilling as well. But yeah, just so nice. That pattern, if you've never made it, you're just right away in the round on that nice 16-inch needle, and it's enjoyable. It'd be great for a travel project and that sort of thing. So that is the Oslo hat. Okay, and next what I have for you is actually something that I kind of want your input on. So that's why I'm maybe bringing it up first. And this is the Nightlight Shawl by Andrea Mowry. I am knitting it out of one skein of, this is a Newborough Yarn Company. And then another skein, this is like a spin cycle yarn. I'll leave all details up on the screen. They're so beautiful. I purchased these at Flock, and I really loved the way that these kind of complemented each other, because the spin cycle yarn just has a little bit of this same brown within it, and they just look so cool kind of paired together. However, when I started knitting them together, I was like, I don't know, is this good? Well, now that I'm looking at it, I'm looking over at my swatch. I was gonna say I loved my swatch. When I'm looking at my swatch, I don't know if I can say I love it. I'm curious if there's not quite enough contrast in some of the portions. And I was kind of knitting this the other day, and I was like, is this ugly? Is this not cute? I don't know. I am interested in your thoughts in it. If you think that you would keep going, I am enjoying making this. I do have this like kind of written down on a piece of paper now, where I'm pretty good at knowing where I am. There's like maybe a 12 row repeat, very similar to other Andrea Mowry patterns. And I kind of know, I have it memorized now, where I know kind of how it's working. And I do know, by the way, that this does block out flat. It gets a little bit scrunched up because of these slip stitches when you're knitting it, but I know my swatch does lay flat. But yeah, I just need your thoughts on the colors of this. Do you think it's good? Do you think I should keep going? I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna continue going. I'm at the very least, to give it the benefit of the doubt, is I'm gonna finish out this skein of this color changing yarn, and I'm gonna really see how it looks as it's growing and as it's changing, just to be completely sure, because sometimes what happens with spin cycle yarns is that just maybe one of the color shifts it may not be your favorite, but all in all, in totality, it tells like this beautiful color story all throughout. And so I'm thinking this might just be a trust the process sort of thing. And guys, I really need to keep going, but I want to make sure as well that I'm making a good choice, because I'm trying to see what needles. This is knit on a US 7, by the way. I want to make sure that I am making the correct choice, because it's a big shawl. It's going to use 3 skeins of the main color and 3 skeins of, actually it might be 2 skeins of the main color, 3 skeins of the spin cycle. I'll have to double check. But either way, it's a large shawl, large, big wrapped shawl. And so I want to make sure I like it, and I'm going to wear it, of course. And I really love these 2 yarns that I selected. So the jury is not decided on this yet. I think let's finish out this spin cycle skein, and then let's analyze and decide if we should frog or if we should keep going. Things that are keeping me going as well are, I love the colors. I love that it has that little bit of teal in it that will go with so many of the clothes in my wardrobe, and then same with it being a brown, like will go with so many of the things in my wardrobe. So fingers crossed that we can just persevere and just just see what the art's going to create. Trust the process. But yeah, right now, I think the reason why maybe I'm a little bit disappointed is I'm wishing that it had maybe a little bit more contrast. That's what I would recommend if you're going to make this pattern. I was looking at Andrea's and a couple of other examples that I like, and I think this pattern, like, it looks the strongest and the most checked and beautiful when it does have a strong contrast. And what's funny is exactly when I picked out these yarns, and I even remember, I think I said it on a podcast episode, that I like things a little bit less contrast. I think it looks a little bit more flattering on myself because I have less contrast in my features. And so, yeah, I picked that on purpose, but I don't know if it totally works. So we will see. We'll trust the process. And I think I'm glad that I just talked with you about it because I think that we'll continue through this cycle. Next, I have some fun progress to talk with you all about on the Monday sweater. And by the way, I never hang my knits on hangers. I simply am just doing this today to better showcase it all for you and hold it up. But here is everything that we have completed so far. I've made such good progress since the last time I podcasted. So the last time I podcasted, I had just gotten about to here, and I actually did a little bit of I was gonna say mid-project block, but I wasn't mid-project at all. I was very much so beginning stages of the project, and I had just done it because I wasn't totally sure about the width of this collar and the needle size that I used. It was sitting a little bit wonky, and when I blocked it, I was very pleased. It ended up laying completely flat and looking really nice. I will say, the more that I look at this, I start overthinking and thinking, should I frog it and go down one more needle size to bring it in a little? Still a possibility, perhaps in the future. But I will say, when I try it on and looking at it now, it does look good. So if we have to in the future, that's a possibility, but it's looking great now. And since then, I have just been in the round land, in raglan land, and, growing, having like a million stitches on my needles. And then finally I split for sleeves, and now I've just been working along on the body. So if you haven't heard, this yarn that I'm using, this is an Alice Starmore yarn. It's their Herbadian 3-ply yarn, and this is in the colorway Storm Petrol. It's a really gorgeous, like, sapphire color. It really does feel jewel toned, and it's a 100% wool. And I'll mention that the sapphire as well, it has these like royal purple? It has these really beautiful purple, like, flaking throughout it, like almost marled or heathered. I think heathered's the term. It looks just, like sapphire with purple. It's gorgeous. I really, really love it. And then here is the back for you all. So my reason for wanting to make this is a couple of the podcasters I watched talked about how much they enjoy their Monday sweaters, how much of a staple they feel like it is. And so I just felt this desire to knit a truly like staple sweater. I knit something similar last year for my husband, just like a simple raglan sweater, and he gets so much use out of it, and it just looks so great on him. And so it's like, I kind of want one of those for myself. And it's been something that's been really enjoyable to knit. I am knitting this up in a US 6 4mm needle, and it feels like it's growing a little bit slow, but at the same time, I'm loving picking it up because, it's an enjoyable gauge, an enjoyable knit. That 100% wool feels good, feels woolly. If you're interested in this yarn or in this colorway, it is a more rustic yarn. So that's just something to be mindful of. It feels soft but woolly. I love the texture of wool. I'm not the person to ask of like, hey, is that soft? Because to me, like the way that wool, when wool feels woolly, that's what I want. Like I love the properties of wool and all that it does when it's in this delicious form. And so, yeah, this is nice. I'm very excited to be working with this. And I do think it's something in a yarn that I would recommend. So yeah, that is the Monday sweater. That's just been like a really nice palette cleanser. If you caught my winter making plans, you'll see I have a couple of other sweaters I am dying to cast on and to swatch for. However, I'm really trying to finish this or maybe my other one before I do that. And so yeah, I'm really trying to have a goal of casting on those 2 new sweaters in the new year. And so I have maybe a couple more weeks to finish these 2 out, and taking a good amount of time off for winter break. So I'm hopeful that can happen and I can just be so warm this winter. Let's talk about my last sweater. So I got it. It fills up this entire basket, if you'll believe. This is the Qanik by Linka Neumann, and I am knitting it out of this Lopi yarn. This is Alafas Lopi. It's a 100% Icelandic wool in a bulky weight, and man oh man does it feel bulky. It is growing so big. It's heavy. When I turn it, it's a lot. It kind of curls up at the bottom here, so hopefully you can see this. But this is a large man sweater. This is for my husband. This will be steeked. So this was knit bottom up. First did this middle panel, then I did both sleeves. And since you've last heard from me, I ended up joining in the round. And with this, you put some of the stitches from the body on hold and some of the stitches from the arm on hold. And so you end up with a little bit of a hole here. And what I'll end up doing is a Kitchener stitch to close off both underarms here. And so I've just finished both raglans. So this was unique because typically, like I just mentioned, with that other raglan, as I'm going along, I am increasing each one. So it just feels like it gets longer and longer each row. And what's kind of fun about bottom up is you're decreasing each row. So it's kind of nice because each row goes faster and faster. And the unique thing about this raglan is in a lot of patterns that I knit, one side you'll do a knit 2 together, one side you'll do a slip slip knit. And in this book, this is from the Wilderness Knits 2 book. She recommends knit 2 together and then on the other side doing knit 2 through the back loop. So I just did that in terms of just like wanting to follow the pattern. And I do think that does like twist the other side just a little bit. I'm not sure. I'll have to do some research and see, is that a traditional way of knitting these Icelandic sweaters? I'm guessing it probably is. Like maybe that was traditionally how these were knit, was doing the knit 2 through the back loop instead of the slip slip knit. I can only imagine. And then I've since finished it all the way up to the top, and now I'm working on the hood. So in this pattern, I could either select between a pointed hood or a rounded hood, and I felt like the rounded would just be a little bit better of a solution. I actually wasn't really able to find, I was looking on YouTube or trying to find like some examples, and I couldn't really find tutorials or examples on both, but it seemed like the one that made more sense when I was reading through it was the rounded hood. And so yeah, so this hood is interesting because all you do is really, I just bound off on those middle steek stitches, and now throughout this whole collar I'm knitting to a certain length, and then I believe I'll go into some shaping for the rest of the hood. And then when I'm finished, I will end up picking up all of the button band. This is just going to be a ribbed button band. I'll end up picking it all up all throughout the body and then also all the way around the hood. And yeah, that'll be the last step. So I'm very excited that this is kind of nearing the finish line because It's a little bit harder on my hands. Again, a US 10 needle size, bulky yarn. It's like something I can do like 4 rows on right now, and then I feel like I mentally get tired of it. It's not so much that my hands hurt, it's just, it's not fun to knit. But my husband will not stop asking for this. He wants to wear it so bad. Like I mentioned, like with the cold, he's like, this would be perfect. So he really, really wants to wear it. And so, yeah, I'm excited that I have these like last 2 sort of stages with it. The only thing that I have left to purchase is some buttons for the front. And so I picked the exact colorways out of the book. I loved the way it looked so much. And in the book, she uses some wooden buttons. So I think I'm going to go to my local yarn store. I feel like I've seen wooden buttons there before. And I'm going to try to find some buttons that would match perfectly for this. If not, I will be looking online. But yeah, I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do so far. The button band is knit in the black tweed. That's also featured at the bottoms of the sweater. So I'm kind of just like doing that all throughout the button band. And then the wood buttons will sit on top. So yeah, that has been a really fun feat. It's taken me a little bit longer than what I expected, which is funny. I think this is something like I need to make a list, all the knitting things I learned about myself through this year. But one of them for sure is like, just because it says bulky yarn doesn't mean it's going to go faster. Because I think for me, actually, like for instance, that Monday sweater, that's a DK weight. But because it's so comfortable to knit on, I can knit on it for hours and like enjoy knitting. So I actually ended up going faster and knitting it faster than I do something that's a bulky weight and a lot bigger than a needle size, because I don't really enjoy picking it up as much. And it's just not something that goes fast because of all those factors. So that is the Qanik. And lastly, I have for you kind of a fun acquisition. I went on a knitting retreat with my friends. I actually vlogged some of it. I'll leave that video listed for you all if you missed it. But during it, we did like a sock yarn gift exchange. And I ended up getting this plucky yarn. This is the Plucky Knitter Primo Base. It's a fingering weight yarn in the colorway Gin Rummy. Isn't this just like a gorgeous evergreen color? I really, really love it. And this is in there, yeah, like I said, the Primo base is 75% superwash merino, 20% cashmere, and 5% nylon. And this was picked out by my friend Courtney, which is funny because I had just gotten done talking with her about how like none of my hats were that warm. I went out and shoveled one night and I ended up selecting my Carhartt beanie. Gasp. I can hear all of your gasps. Because I feel like none of my beanies are as warm as I need them. And she came over and she's like, what are you talking about? You've knit so many hats. This simply can't be true. She brought over some of her warmest hats and I took out my little bin to have her try them on. And again, add this to my list of lessons for the year. She was like, yeah, a bunch of these hats are wimpy. She said for some of them, like my muscle burras, my gauge was too big. And then like maybe I needed to knit a few of them a little bit longer. And then for some of them, like my ribbed hats, like obviously some of those, like they're just going to be a cuter hat. Like it's really not meant to be like super, super warm. And so she was recommending like, and showing me her favorites that are super warm. And I think what I'm going to do is make, again, probably an Oslo hat. I love, it has like that extra fold within it. I think the gauge is going to be really nice. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to hold, because I think it's nice that it has a little bit of that cashmere within it. And then I think I'm going to end up holding it with a Surrey. Her favorites, she's held with an Isager mohair, but sometimes mohair gets a little bit scratchy on my forehead. She swears by the Isager and says it's the softest and nicest she's ever used. And so I'm definitely not opposed to using that in the future. However, I do think like for me, Surrey is just that little bit thicker, little bit warmer with those super long, nice fibers. So I think what I'm gonna try to do is make my warmest hat yet with this and with the Surrey that I find. So I need to find a Surrey that is also this evergreen color because like I said, I have green eyes and I love wearing this color close to my face. So that's something that I want to do. I do know probably if I wanted the warmest of the warm, I would choose a non-superwash for that one. But I do think paired with a Surrey, I could make it really nice. If I make sure that gauge is tight, like on an Oslo, and then with an added flap, I think it could be really nice. I've also considered looking at a couple of my hats. At one point I made a couple of those like big trapper hats. I made one for my nephew, like sewing them, and I sewed like a Sherpa lining inside of them. And so I was thinking too, like that could be an option if I really like one of my hats too. I could always sew in like a Sherpa lining. That would be kind of fun as well. But yeah, that might be something like for future Jacque, like just something like as I think about what I'm going to tackle in 2026, like making my warmest hat yet for these crazy days. I think it would be a really fun challenge because I'm finding a lot of my hats, they're so cute, but like once it gets lower than like 25 degrees, I need to pull out all the stops and really make sure that I am good to go. Okay, so that's it for acquisitions. I do have another really fun acquisition coming. I've been totally enticed by a certain shawl that I'm seeing everywhere this year. And I think that's all I'm going to tell you for now, but I picked a really fun kit. And I think it's going to be a really nice challenge. I don't really have any like challenging knits planned that I was talking about in my winter making plans. And so, I did that winter making plans early, and so I knew it had the potential for changing a little bit. I think it might just need a little bit of spiciness, a little bit of a fun challenge added within it. So stay tuned to see what that is. I'm looking also at my wall. I do have some quilting updates for you all. I think I will leave that for the next podcast episode just because I had so many things to talk with you all today. But just know I'm continuing to power through my quilted snowman. Like I mentioned, I'm taking some days off for our Christmas holiday break. And I would really, really love to have the quilted snowman top finished before I go back to work in January. So I'm trying to make a game plan for myself and really, really get down to it. So that's one thing. And one other update is I just got a really cool little vlogging camera too as well. And so I'll be able to shoot some easier vlog clips and some other fun clips too. So yeah, I'm really excited for the time that I'm going to get off, all my making time, also to just continuing learning more about filming and this sort of space. I consider it all a part of my making sphere and all the things that I love to do. If you are new here, please consider the free ways that you can support this channel that you watch for free. So subscribing, liking, commenting down below, they all help me immensely. And if you would like to support monetarily, you can give a super thanks. There's also an option to join a membership on my channel, and that's just a way for you to have a small donation to thank me for making these videos. There's also one new feature that is free as well, and it's called hyping. And if you click it, it just helps the algorithm hype me up and show my videos to other people. So you can do it that way, or you can simply just share my video with a friend. It helps so much with me growing my YouTube channel. Thank you all for being here today. I hope that you are all cozied up, that you're all staying warm if you are in a cold climate right now. And I wish you all the best in your holiday seasons and that you're experiencing some holiday magic as you are making. I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye-bye.